after we put all of our terminal ends to the rest of the vehicle, we're going to work underneath the driver's seat here. This is kind of the brains of the whole vehicle, and this is where we're actually going to connect to the battery. This one has the auxiliary battery, so we'll be connecting to this post here. But we're going to start by putting all of these little horseshoe connectors, terminals ends to all of the red wires that we run here on our harness, and we will be gang grounding these black into these two ring terminals, and we'll create two common grounds with 3 wires into each one, and we'll put that on the OEM ground post down here. For these, I'm taking off about 1/4 of an inch. These are not very deep terminal ends, you can see here, so you don't need to strip a whole ton of wire off of them.
To get the camera guy setting the camera to get his close-ups. That was pretty funny. So that they fit nicely in this of the van. Yeah, I know, right?
Right, you have to.
There's no metal in there anymore in the bed.
Restrictions and stuff and gas mileage. That's how we got the gas mileage, but it's making it super light. Huh. So are we rolling? Yeah. This is gonna just be, music over. We can just do some audio slave. Burn that gasoline! Fire! Yeah, this one kid in Boise wanted one for his little truck. And I was like, why? Why would you spend all the money? He's like, just the ability to pull it out that quickly. I can stash stuff underneath in all my compartments and then slap it back over the top. I was like, oh.
Okay, so these are the 2 common grounds that we just made, and I'm going to slip them over the OEM ground down here. All right, so it's right here, and I'll get the ratchet in there. I just wanted you to see that, and then I'll throw the ratchet on there to make it nice and snug and tight so that our whole system is grounded through here. On the other ends, we're going to take these ends and we're going to connect them to the fuse block before we mount the fuse block. So I'll show you how we do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the 4 active circuits on here. One for the light, one for the fans, one for the passenger USBs, and one for the driver's USBs. The other 2 auxiliaries I'll put in, but I'll put them into places that where we don't put the fuses, so that those circuits are not alive. Okay, so the first fuse, I always like to put the light first. This is just so I know where these are. So I'm going to stick the light one here. And I know that because of the yellow tape. White tape is the fan. I like to stick that next. Then I'm going to do the driver's side USBs after that. And really these can go down this way too, but I like sticking them up. And then the passenger side USB. Now the other two I'm going to set, but I'm not going to put a fuse in them, and we'll cap the ends also, just to be safe in case somebody does put a fuse in them. We don't want them open. I like to set the first one as USB or auxiliary 1. That's the orange tape. And then auxiliary 2 is set in the last space here. We have 2 extra spaces there for people to put in their own circuits on. And if you're going to run your own circuit to your own fridge or whatever, you can use either of these 2 spaces. This entire board is rated to 100 amps. We're going to connect the fuse block now to the power source. In this vehicle they have the auxiliary battery, so there's the post back here. The post that we're going to connect to is on the driver's side. So this has the auxiliary battery connect and circuit breaker assembly. This is a 100 amp circuit breaker, and we use that for connecting. You'll notice on this there's one side that has a smaller ring terminal, and that smaller ring terminal goes over the fuse block side. Okay. And I'm going to keep it a little bit loose until I can crank it around here. The other wire here has a larger ring terminal, and that will go over the power source. Okay, so I'm going to set this one to go straight down, and their original power source here is going to go, this is the connector off to the side. So this is the driver's side post, and I slipped the wire that's going to our breaker onto that side, and then I'm putting the battery post or wire back on, so that the whole entire vehicle is reconnected via this little post. We disconnected all the grounds, so that is why there is no juice flowing in the vehicle right now, and that's the best way to work on this vehicle. Disconnect the grounds from the batteries and then do your work. Okay, so we're good and solid through here. There's a cap that goes back over the top of this that we will replace over the top of it here in a moment. Now we're going to attach our fuse block and our brake box to this carriage like this. And the way I do that is I remove this carriage, flip it up, and attach it, and then flip it back down. So I'm going to pull these bolts, these screws right here. We're just using the self-tapping screws. You can use VHB tape and tape these to different parts of the inside of the compartment here. Once I put the breaker switch on, I will tighten up all of the connections before I put this little chassis back down. All right, so lastly, that's the full install. That's attaching it to the OEM battery auxiliary source. This is the breaker switch. So I like to leave that up right here. The power is off. And when we go through, the last thing that we'll do is click this power source down, and that'll turn on our system. If you have, you want to make sure that your wires for your seats are free to move. Set right back up on top so that you can plug your seats in easily. But we are now done with the battery system. It's all installed. And again, if you have extra circuits, you're plugging them into these other sides of the fuse block. And you can always just reattach and continue to plug into here for more circuits that you need. As long as you don't go over 100 amps.